New York City, America's most populated city and America's most expensive city to live. New York is the most rent-burdened metro area in the US, according to a new report from Moody's Analytics. It was found that a household with a median income in the Big Apple would need to pay nearly 69% of earnings to rent the average price apartment there. Families who direct 30% or more of their income to housing typically are considered rent-burdened. To not be considered rent-burdened in New York, in an average apartment, a household would need to earn $177,000 or more a year. As you can see with this, New York takes the top spot by some distance. Miami comes in second. More than 44 million households, or roughly 35% of the US population, live in rental housing, according to the White House. A general rule for decades has been for people not to spend more than 30% of their gross income on housing. Hence, having more and more people paying more than 30% of their income for housing is very concerning. When Moody's Analytics started tracking housing affordability more than 20 years ago, the average household spent about 23% of its income on rent. A decade ago, it was 26%, and at the end of last year, the average was 30%. For the first time in January this year, the average renter household in this country is paying 30% of their income on rent. Last year in summer, New York's average rents reached a whopping $5,000 for the first time ever. Just a couple months ago, Manhattan's median rent rose to $4,097, 15.4% higher than in January 2022, and the third highest on record, according to a report. In Brooklyn, the median rose to $3,499, a gain of 25% from January 2022 and 6% from December. It was just $1 short of breaking records for the highest median rent ever recorded there. The median rent in Queens rose to $3,369, up 14.2% from a year earlier and 19.9% from December. Miller noted that bidding wars for luxury apartments defines the top 10% of the market were up in January as median rental prices rose. Median rent for luxury apartments in Manhattan rose 12.8% from a year earlier to $11,000 and were unchanged from the previous month. When COVID hit for a brief minute, it looked grim for landlords in New York City. Building owners were forced to cut rent to its lowest level since 2011. But then last year we saw demand for rentals in New York skyrocket. This resulted in a median average rent hit $5,000 and vacancy rates in Manhattan fell below 2%. But why the rebound? USPS stats show that lots of New Yorkers left the city during the pandemic. Between March 2020 and December 2021, there was a net loss of 317,107 permanent movers from across the 5 boroughs. Officially, during the peak of the COVID exodus, the vacancy rate in Manhattan was 4.3%, the highest in at least 14 years. But those official vacancy rates are sourced from market reports by brokerage firms, and they only reflect the number of rental apartments that landlords are advertising, not the number that actually sit empty. New York City has been losing population. Shouldn't that have pushed vacancy rates up and pulled rents down? The metrics cited above reflect conditions in the unregulated rental market in New York, and a rent law passed by the state legislature in 2019 cut off what has been a substantial flow of formerly rent-regulated apartments into that market. So that's an obvious reason for the vacancy rate to be tighter and rents higher than might one expect. It's definitely not only though. If people coming to New York have different needs, priorities, and resources than those who are leaving, population totals might not give an accurate illustration of housing demand. Many families with children left the city during the onset of COVID, and by all appearances, a lot of young single people have arrived since. This could mean that the fall of population hasn't been matched by a fall in household, which are the relevant units in assessing housing demand. Another thing that's more than doubled in this case over the past decade is the number of city housing units classified as vacant. In the Housing and Vacancy Survey, which estimated that there was 353,400 such units in 2021. In 2017, the reason most often offered for keeping units vacant was that they were under renovation. In 2021, it was that they were being held for occasional seasonal or recreational use. Another possible cause for the rise of vacancies since 2017 is that owners of rent-regulated apartments are holding them vacant because the rewards of renovating them and renting them have subsided or fallen. New York City is still really expensive, and by all means, it looks like it's going to stay that way for the distant future.